Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the post-WrestleMania edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. A lot to cover, a lot to talk about. We are also coming off the Raw after Mania. I was planning to do a video Monday night, but unfortunately I was feeling a bit under the weather. It's been a long few days. I think I've gotten maybe an average of 3 to 4 hours of sleep over the past week. Like Triple H said, I would rather eat well than sleep well, but I'm not like Vince. You know, Vince is a machine. He can never sleep. I need my sleep, and Vince doesn't get sick. Vince, you know, there are the reports out there that Vince doesn't even like it when someone sneezes, and unfortunately, I get colds every now and then, and I sneeze, and I really wanted to do a video Monday night, but had to get some rest, and I'm back here. It's Tuesday morning. Time to get down to business with no DQ&A video. I am planning to do several days of consecutive videos this week, so there will be a lot of content. Make sure you check out the WrestleMania review video as well as the NXT review video. Got a lot more coming this week, but with that said, let's get down to your questions before I fall too far behind. First one today comes from Joe. Was this year's WrestleMania match Undertaker's worst one? Why or why not? I have gotten a lot of people asking me about the Undertaker's retirement and his final match. I would not say it was his worst match. It was far from his best match, but I would not say it was as bad as Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez or Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy. But with that said, I am a bit disappointed that the match wasn't better. I felt like the crowd heat also wasn't what it could have been, and I think part of that was just due to the fact that the fans were really tired and they had a lack of energy for the match because the show went on for so long. That's the big downside to doing a 7-hour show. I think the perfect circumstances, excuse me, like I said, dealing with a cold here, I think the perfect circumstances would have been Undertaker having this epic match, an all-time classic, but going in, I wasn't expecting an Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels quality match. The Undertaker just wasn't able to perform at that level, and I wasn't expecting it going in. But I would have liked to have seen this all-time great Undertaker match, which did not happen. The crowd heat wasn't really there. So yeah, in that sense, it was a disappointment, and I did not feel as upset as I feel I should have when Undertaker was there taking off his ring gear and leaving it in the ring. I felt it was a great visual send-off for him to do that, and that was the most memorable thing about the match. I think people will remember that. I thought that that was a great way to end it without him saying anything or cutting a promo, just leaving his gear in the ring. I thought that was well done, but yeah, I think I would have liked the whole thing a little bit more if the match was better quality and the crowd was just hotter for it. They just did not seem to be that invested in the match like I thought they would. I thought this would be like Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 18 level heat, but it wasn't really that case. Yeah, there were people booing Reigns, but it felt like people were just exhausted from the 7-hour show. Got this one here from Zach. Since WWE has all but officially confirmed Undertaker's retirement, will he headline the Hall of Fame next year in New Orleans? I think that is a very safe bet. I think there's a good chance of that happening for next year's WrestleMania. It would make sense since New Orleans was where the streak ended. So in a way, that was the beginning of the end of Undertaker's career. I would be fine with that. It would make sense for me to see Undertaker go in next year. And somebody else asked me, is he going to do anything else? Was WrestleMania it as far as Undertaker appearances go? I'm guessing that we probably will not see Undertaker again until he goes into the Hall of Fame. You know, I always felt that he would go into the Hall of Fame once his career was 100% finished. And right now it looks like it's pretty much over. It looks like the end for Undertaker. So yeah, I would put him in as soon as possible now that his career appears to be over. If it in fact is over, then I would induct him as soon as possible. And next year, New Orleans seems very fitting. So I am definitely a fan of that happening, and I could very well see that happening next year. Got this one here from Converse Craig. What match do you think stole the show at WrestleMania? That's a tough question to answer because it's not like there was any one match on that show where I look at it and I think it was one of the all-time great WrestleManias. It's not like Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker from WrestleMania 25, although it's not necessarily a bad thing when there's no one match that really stands out if you have several high-quality matches, which I felt this WrestleMania had. I felt WrestleMania 33 was pretty consistent with good matches up until the last third, as I talked about during the review video. If I had to choose my favorite match at WrestleMania, I think it would come down to either AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon or, believe it or not, the Raw ladder match, which going in nobody was expecting to steal the show, but because of the Hardy Boys, that will go down as a memorable WrestleMania match. But I think overall, AJ versus Shane was the best match on WrestleMania in terms of the performances. So I would go with AJ versus Shane, but the best moment overall for me was the return of the Hardy Boys. Got this one here from Mr. DK Gaming. What did you think of Kurt Angle's Hall of Fame speech? I thought it was great. I thought it was good, but the problem, in my opinion, is that that speech was more or less WWE scripting Kurt Angle. It felt like it was a WWE speech that they put together for Kurt Angle. I was very entertained by it. I thought it was extremely entertaining, actually, with Kurt Angle doing all of his old comedy routines, you know, wearing the hat and drinking the milk and singing Shawn Michaels' song, Sexy Kurt. That was all great, but I felt like it was a promo where, or should I say a speech. I mean, in a way it is a promo. The Hall of Fame is just WWE trying to promote themselves, basically. And that's what it felt like to me. It felt like a promo. With DDP and Beth Phoenix, I felt like it was more from the heart, and I felt it was more personal with them. You know, Angle really did not get too personal with his speech, and maybe that was his call. Who knows? But I would say Angle's speech was number 3 of the night. Maybe even number 4, because I really enjoyed the Rock and Roll Express's speech. But to me, Beth Phoenix really stole the show with her speech. I thought it was very well done. It was well written, well prepared, and she paced herself very well. I really enjoyed the speech. One of the best speeches in Hall of Fame history, in my opinion. And DDP's was fantastic, very inspirational and very heartwarming to listen to. DDP did a tremendous job. So it would be Beth Phoenix and then DDP and then maybe Kurt Angle and then Rock and Roll Express. Got this one here from Heel Ty Marshall. Now that Kurt Angle is in the WWE Hall of Fame, would you love to see a Kurt Angle DVD, and what matches would you like to see? Honestly, as a fan, I would like WWE to wait until they can get the TNA library, whenever that is. I think a Kurt Angle DVD set would be incomplete without the TNA matches, as much as WWE likes to consider TNA as obsolete. And, you know, WWE tends to ignore their existence. There's no question that Kurt Angle had a great career in TNA. He had a lot of memorable matches with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode. The list goes on. I think the complete Kurt Angle DVD set would include those TNA matches. Unfortunately, even though Kurt Angle has a lot of WWE classics, there are some matches that WWE will not put on a DVD from Angle's WWE run, like Angle versus Chris Benoit at the Royal Rumble in 2003, which was one of the best WWE matches of all time, but because of what happened with Benoit, it's not going to be featured on a DVD, which is a real shame. But since you're not going to have that match, the next best thing is to have some of those great TNA matches. So if it was me, I would wait on it. I could see WWE putting out something soon to capitalize on Angle being in the Hall of Fame and now being the Raw General Manager. Would not surprise me, but I think they should wait on it and put together the ultimate Kurt Angle package. They could just do something where they throw a bunch of matches on the network right now and hype that up. But if you're going to do an actual DVD Blu-ray set, then really make it the ultimate complete collection of angle matches. Got this one here from Sean T. Flick. With Nakamura headed to the main roster, presumably, do you think McIntyre enters a feud with Rude right away? Yeah, I think that Drew McIntyre will be one of the top NXT stars, and with the UK tour coming up, one would think that McIntyre is going to be the headliner, and that's one of the reasons he was brought into NXT, to help WWE with their tour of the UK, and he can be an ambassador in the UK for WWE. That is one of the reasons why McIntyre is considered to be an asset to WWE right now, so he can help WWE expand their popularity in the UK. So yeah, I would definitely expect McIntyre to be one of the top NXT headliners moving forward, and WWE really needs it with all these guys being called up. You know, the NXT roster has gotten a little bit thin, so it's great to have somebody like McIntyre there. And I got more questions here about McIntyre. This one comes from Ben. With the signing of Drew McIntyre to NXT, wouldn't that be a step down for him? Not necessarily. I know some people feel that way, but I look at it differently. Some people say, well, this is him not being pushed at the level he should be pushed, but you have to keep in mind that the last time he was in WWE, he was part of 3MB, an opening match comedy act. That's what it was, and I think it's really important for Drew McIntyre to rebuild his credibility. I like this idea of him going into NXT and just starting from scratch and building his character up again. I think it's a good thing for his career. I think that it can help give him some credibility again by having these great matches in NXT. And there's no real rush. He's still really young, and he's got a lot of years left in his career if he stays healthy. So I think NXT is a good thing for him to allow him to rebuild his character. So when he does come back, you know, people remember all the cool stuff he's doing in NXT rather than, oh, he was one of the 3MB guys. And on this similar topic from Cheyenne, do you think that Drew will get a main event push this time? I hope he will. Your thoughts? In time, like I said, he's a young man. He's got a lot of years left in his career if he can stay healthy. I think that with a good NXT run for a year or two, he can potentially rebuild his career and come back to WWE and be one of the top stars in the company. I certainly think that's a possibility. I think the problem with his first run was that they pushed him too quickly. That was a problem. And then he was having personal issues with his wife, and then once he got put in 3MB, that was pretty much the final nail in the coffin to ruin his credibility as a potential headliner. But like I said, they rebuild him in NXT, call him up in a year or two. He could very well become a major star in WWE for years to come. Got this one here from The Dark One. Will we see anyone hold a title for 2 or more years, or is it just a different era now? I think it's unlikely we see somebody hold a title for that long because, like you said, it is a different era. It's not like the 70s where you had Bruno Sammartino holding the title for 8 years or Bob Backlund holding it for 5 years. Television and the current landscape of WWE, it moves at a very fast pace. You have shows every single week. There's no break period. With CM Punk, he's one of those rare exceptions where he held the title for a very long time, and I think part of it was due to the fact that he started his reign as a babyface and then turned heel halfway through to keep it fresh, but also when they did the heel turn at Raw 1000, WWE had already planned for CM Punk to face The Rock at the Royal Rumble, so it was already 6 months, the storyline was set in place, and CM Punk was going to remain WWE Champion unless he got hurt. And that's the thing too, with guys getting injured all the time and with them being on the road so much these days, the risk for injury is so great that it would be hard. Even if WWE did long-term storyline planning, you know, there's always that risk of somebody getting hurt and plans having to be thrown out the window. as much as I think WWE would like to break CM Punk's record, unless your name is Roman Reigns, I think it's a long shot that that's going to happen. So yeah, it's unlikely we're going to see somebody holding a title for more than 2 years. Got this one here from Mr. Yuck. So whenever Zack Ryder returns, do you think he might do so as a heel to feud with Mojo? Probably not. The thing about Zack Ryder is he's always been seen as the underdog, and he's making this comeback story. You know, he's been injured, and it just would not make sense for him to come back as a heel. Fans are going to want to cheer him when he returns because he's been working really hard to recover, and people see him as an underdog. And the other thing is, I'm not expecting Mojo Rawley to be pushed. I would be really surprised if Mojo Rawley winning the Battle Royal leads to some sort of long-term push. My guess is by the time Ryder returns, the Rawley push will be long gone. I also think the two of them worked well together as a tag team, and I think that it helped Ryder stay relevant in WWE, and it helped boost Mojo. I think the two of them, they need each other. You know, they work well together, and I think it helped keep both of them in key positions in WWE. So my gut feeling is there's a greater chance they'll be reunited as a tag team rather than them feuding with each other. That would surprise me. This one comes from German Cesaro. Better risk taker, Jeff Hardy or Shane McMahon? I think that this is really subjective. I think that it depends on your own personal opinion, but I'll try to look at it from as much of a practical standpoint as possible. Shane takes some insane risks. There's no doubt about it, but they're very well calculated risks, and he only does them once in a while. You know, he'll do the big match where he'll jump off a high place. With Hell in a Cell, he did that, but they had the padding, of course. It was very well planned out, and Shane only does it once in a while. With Jeff Hardy, he's always doing crazy things. He's always taking risks. He lives life to the extreme. You know, that's the motto of the Hardy Boys. And he did a ladder match Saturday night, Ring of Honor, and then the next night does another ladder match at WrestleMania. Jeff Hardy's crazy. What can you say? So I think I would have to go with Jeff Hardy just because of the frequency that he's taking these risks. He's always doing something insane and, you know, doing all the crazy stuff in the impact zone when there's not a lot of people watching. That is quite the risk taker, to do all that stuff when there's not a lot of people watching, and you know, you're not making as much money as you would doing it on a big stage like WrestleMania. So I'll go with Jeff Hardy. This one comes from Boogeyman79. Hey Aaron, on both Raw and SmackDown, which superstar do you think is the best and worst on the mic? That is a loaded question. I think off the top of my head for Raw, best on the mic, Enzo. Enzo Amore is fantastic. When that guy has a microphone, it is magic. He can talk. That is what has brought him to the dance in WWE. Worst on the mic, probably Brock Lesnar. After all, he's got Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, and you know, Paul Heyman would be right up there with Enzo as the best on the mic. Lesnar's never really been known for his mic skills, so I would probably go with Brock as the worst, but I would not say that to his face. As for SmackDown, best on the mic, let me think about that one for a second. Probably The Miz. The Miz has really stepped it up in recent months, and he's just so damn entertaining on the mic. John Cena is right up there. Worst on the mic, Kalisto. Good lucha things. That's all I got to say about that. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Hopefully this video was good enough quality for you guys. Like I said at the beginning, I've been dealing with a cold the last few days, lack of sleep, but business has to continue. The show must go on, as they say. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. I will be talking more about Raw and tonight's SmackDown on future editions of NoDQ&A video going up this week. Going to try to do as many this week as possible. Stay tuned for all that. Subscribe if you haven't already at youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ, and I will see you guys next time.